Let's begin by breaking down the question itself. When people say if there is an all-powerful, all-good creator, why is there suffering and evil? What they're really asking is, if this being exists, why does he allow things that seem wrong or painful to happen? It's an ancient question, and it resonates deeply with many because we all experience pain and see injustice around us. But what if the way we're thinking about power and goodness isn't actually the full picture? Consider this: if a creator exists, then his perspective on good and bad, or justice and mercy, would be infinitely broader than ours. We tend to judge things by our limited, immediate experiences. If something hurts, it's bad. If it feels good, it's good. But what if, in a larger framework, even what appears bad to us has a purpose? Think about an experienced teacher or parent. They sometimes do things their students or children might not like, things they might even see as unkind or unfair. But the teacher or parent has a long-term vision in mind. The pain of discipline, the discomfort of hard lessons. These things can ultimately lead to growth, character, and understanding. Could it be that a creator allows certain trials or sufferings because they serve a larger purpose? Let's take a practical analogy. Imagine a surgeon who performs an operation. From the perspective of the patient, the process might seem brutal. There's cutting, pain, and healing. But we understand that this short-term pain is necessary to remove what could be harmful and to restore health. If we can see wisdom in temporary pain for the sake of a greater good, why should the idea of a creator allowing challenges be so different? Perhaps suffering isn't random, but is part of a system we can't fully understand, one that is ultimately aimed at a greater form of good. Now let's address power. What does it mean to be all-powerful? Often people assume this means the creator should prevent every form of discomfort or challenge. But would a truly powerful being micromanage every tiny detail to avoid any conflict? Power doesn't necessarily mean interference in every instance. Think about a wise leader. Their strength is in creating systems and principles, not in controlling every individual action. Real power might mean setting the framework in which creatures are given freedom and choice. When people have the freedom to choose, you inevitably get both good and bad outcomes. But that's where real character, real meaning, and real justice come into play. A world without choice would be like a script with no depth, no stakes, no growth. If we follow this line of thought, an all-powerful creator would have the power to set up the best possible system for meaningful existence, one where freedom and responsibility are real. In such a world, suffering might be part of the package, not because the creator is indifferent, but because eliminating suffering entirely would mean eliminating the conditions for personal growth, for heroism, and for love. Love and virtue are only meaningful when they're chosen, especially in the face of hardship. Now, some would ask, why create a world with this much suffering at all? Surely a perfect creator could make one without any. But if we consider the impact of challenges on us, they often serve as wake-up calls. When everything is easy, people rarely stop to question or reflect. It's often through pain or hardship that people look deeper, ask profound questions, and seek understanding beyond themselves. In a world that had only ease and comfort, would anyone ever seek higher purpose, introspect, or even think about their origins or existence? In a strange way, suffering can serve as a teacher, pushing us to confront the bigger questions we might otherwise ignore. Let's talk about goodness now. When we think of goodness, we tend to imagine it as kindness, ease, or pleasure. But isn't true goodness something that ultimately benefits us in a real way, even if we don't immediately recognize it? A creator's goodness might not always align with our preferences or desires. It might align with what helps us grow, what prepares us for a higher reality, or what leads us to see beyond the material world. In a purely physical sense, we may not immediately recognize how these trials benefit us, but that doesn't mean they're not good. Take, for example, the concept of hardship forging resilience. How many people, when they look back on their lives, say that the hardest times shaped them into who they are? They might not wish to relive those moments, but they're often grateful for the growth that came out of them. A creator who knows us better than we know ourselves would understand what we need to experience to become our best selves, even if we don't understand it at the time. Moreover, if we think deeply about justice, we often look only at the visible part of life. But suppose life as we know it isn't the whole story. Many people have a sense that there's more beyond our limited time here, an extension of existence where there is ultimate justice, where every hardship, every good or bad deed is accounted for. If this is true, then what we experience now might only be one chapter in a much larger story. The trials of this world would make more sense if they were preparation for something beyond. Imagine watching a movie where every character faces difficulties, grows, and ultimately finds redemption or justice by the end. Now, imagine stopping the movie halfway through, during the most challenging scenes, and assuming that's all there is. You'd miss the resolution, the purpose behind those struggles. In a similar way, if we stop our perspective at just what we see in this world, we miss the full picture. Some people argue that a creator allowing suffering is proof of indifference or cruelty. But if we examine human relationships, we see that genuine care doesn't always mean removing obstacles. Sometimes love means allowing someone to face challenges, to learn and grow independently. This kind of love respects the dignity and potential of the person. In a larger sense, a creator who allows us to experience both the highs and lows of existence may be offering us that same dignity, that same potential. It's natural to question, to struggle with these ideas. Our minds are finite, and the concept of an infinite creator is beyond full comprehension. But perhaps our limited perspective is exactly why we struggle with this question. If there is a creator, then his wisdom, his understanding of power, goodness, and justice would surpass ours. Just as a child might not understand why their parent allows difficult experiences, we might not grasp the reasons behind our trials. But acknowledging our limits doesn't mean we have to abandon the belief that there is reason and purpose beyond what we see. So in the end, the existence of hardship doesn't negate the idea of an all-powerful, all-good creator. Instead, it invites us to look deeper. It challenges us to consider that our definitions of power and goodness may be incomplete, that our perspective might be just one piece of a much larger reality. Rather than proof of a creator's weakness or indifference, perhaps our trials are hints of a deeper, purposeful design. And in that design, every difficulty, every moment of growth might just be a part of the creator's plan for something far greater than we can imagine.